Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, wherever you're tuning in from. This is the BS Buddies podcast. I'm your host, Joe. That is your host, Ian. It's a podcast where we talk about anything. In one of our last episodes, we created the worst restaurant ever. And other times, we brought Doritos back to medieval France. Uh,
Middle Age, and we caused World War One to happen from Yu-Gi-Oh. A lot of interesting stuff has really occurred in these previous episodes. You guys are missing out. You should go check them out. They're pretty cool.
but today, we're going to get a little more personal, and we're going to tell you stories. Specifically, baseball stories. When we used to play together in high school, a lot of funny stuff happened. And we're gonna go from there. And fun fact, if this is your first time, subscribe as well. But during this time period of our lives, that's when we first decided to make videos together, which was literally 10 years ago. I'm getting memories, and it's kind of scary.
My God, I just going off of that, didn't we come up with the whole idea for it when we were sitting in the entrance to the elementary school that one
Yes.
day, and we
I
were like scrolling on our iPods, or that old iPods at the time, and you had just
I
gotten some like video editing app, didn't you?
so I came up with the idea. We'll just briefly go through this. I kind of came up with an idea what I wanted to do, and I pitched it to Ian, and Ian took it and said, "This, let's go this way." And I'm like, "Yes, that sounds awesome," and we did it. But anyways,
And
I'll
through a series of unfortunate decisions, it led to some of the most embarrassing moments of our lives. A lot of fun, but I can't lie to you, Joe. I can't make it through all of those videos
we'll
sometimes.
react to him
Not,
sometime.
oh, God,
Anyways,
please don't. Open.
we'll go with the first one. I'll start out with the first one, and then you can lead it into the second story because I know you'll like it.
All right.
So this first one is kind of a small one. In the upper Midwest, it snows, but we still need to practice when it's March and April. So we do inside, like gym practices, and sometimes that's really scary because you lose the ball. Uh, during my freshman year, uh, I was practicing at first base, and I got the ball, and someone was practicing just being a pitcher standing there for an exchange student, to be precise. And he
Shout out to you, buddy. Fun times.
he was looking at me, so I'm like, "Oh, here," and I lobbed the ball, and as soon as it leaves my hand, he looks away, and I had the perfect moonshot into a not so pleasant area to be hit for men. Complete and utter accident. I felt so bad, but at the same time, that's
to,
why you
to
don't look
quote
away.
to quote the longest yard, that one hurt my bobble sack.
And I
I was in
and
the outfield at this time, and I just had the perfect view. Like the very second the ball left your fingers, I was watching him on the pitcher's mound, and he was looking at you, and huh, and he just turned the other way, and he just stood there, glove out, waiting, and it was like one of those moments where it was just like you could watch him fall in slow motion. You're like, oh no.
I like I also like how you said outfield, but in a gym the outfield is like 2 feet behind second base.
The outfield was at the other free throw line. It's just like, oh yeah, stand back there, and if any come your way, try not to get hit. Pop fly would bounce off the roof of the gym, and oh, that was something else. Those were some good times there.
uh, we have another story with that foreign exchange student that Ian loves. I'll give it to him. It's
Yeah,
hilarious.
it's
Just for a little context before we say this, uh, our baseball team, the guys on it were they when they thought something, it flew, and the coaches just kind of accepted this was a thing. So,
we'll use some anonymous names here for the sake of anonymity, to be redundant. Um, this is one of my favorite stories, right?
same here.
So our foreign exchange student, he was Korean. So we'll call him
Jimmy,
Mike.
because that Jimmy, that's every foreign exchange student's name.
Yeah, Jimmy.
It's the most
Your
common foreign
name.
exchange
Yeah,
student
your
name.
name.
That was not his
Yeah,
name, but
that was not his name, but when they come over, they give them American sounding names, so that like the American students don't mess up their name all the time. So yeah, Jimmy, Jimmy. So Jimmy was sitting in the seat next to me, and I was talking with our coach at the time, and we were talking about oh gosh, something about doing activities or something like that, and our coach
before
had mentioned. Oh,
sorry. I just want to say before you continue, just for a little more context, we were on the bus waiting to leave for an away game. So we're all sitting on the bus just hanging out for a bit.
right,
Just
we're
for,
chill.
because it'll make a little more sense.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. We didn't say that part. We need some context in there. So yeah, we're sitting on the bus. He's sitting in the seat across from me, and we're both up front talking to the coach or whatever. And as we're discussing whatever we're doing, Jimmy was saying how he could get away with something or other, or he could do something because he didn't have to follow the rules. He was not American, therefore he didn't have to follow the rules. And he was joking with us, of course. It was all in good fun, but we were going, "No, Jimmy, you got to follow the rules when you're in America. It doesn't matter if you're an American or not. You're here. You got to follow the rules, man." And our coach at that moment asked, "Jimmy, you know what happens if you don't follow the rules in America, right?" And our great goober friend, who we'll call Herbert, because that was one of the names he often used whenever we all go into Arby's or Taco
Oh,
John's
we,
and order
we
with
got to get
fake
to that.
names.
That'll be next.
So Herbert has been sitting behind me this whole time, talking with whoever else, not paying attention to the conversation in any way, shape, or form. And as soon as he hears, "Well, Jimmy, you have to follow the rules in America. You know what happens if you don't follow the rules in America, right?" Herbert whips around and goes, "Deported." I don't think I've ever laughed so hard in my life. We were all sitting there just in tears. Even our coach had to turn away and like pull his hat down and like hide his chuckle.
Um, so Ian was towards the front of the bus where that happened. I was sitting in the back, like just chatting, whatever. I don't know what I was doing. All I hear is a coach say, "You know what happens when you don't follow the rules in America?" And just a
And
yell,
he
yell.
yelled that. He did not say that. He didn't whisper it. He
He,
yelled that. The whole bus was just chatter, 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 chatter. Deported. What the fuck happened? What?
I only heard those two
Oh,
sentences, and that's all I needed to hear. I had
that's
no
all
idea
the
what else was
context
going
you
on.
need. You know what happens if you don't follow the rules in America? Deported.
Um, I
Oh,
was gonna tell a different story, but since you mentioned the whole Arby's, when we would play like hour and a half long bus ride games, so we'd go travel farther, they would usually provide like we'd go to Arby's or Taco Bell, something like that, and we have stories from each of these. Uh, at Arby's, everyone's like, we're gonna say the most ridiculous names we possibly can, and
so
uh,
yeah,
I
and
before I remember only like one or two, but God bless this worker. Cause like they could have said, okay, something's not right, but they're just like asking how to spell these names.
they were
He
doing
took it
their
like a champ.
absolute best. I do have to commend the man for playing along because we were not coming like this wasn't just a bunch of random high school boys walking in like, "Oh yeah, my name's Jim." The next one, "My name's Jim. My
Oh
name's Jim." No, this
no,
this
no,
wasn't
it
just some
was
prank. We
bad.
were coming out with like who's this order for Ebenezer. and, and like the next person come up, they'd be like Scrooge, and then they'd come up the next one, they'd be like Tutankhamun. Like we would come up with the most
the
ridiculous
the
names
most
that we
ridiculous
learned.
one I heard was Cornopolis, and I was
Cornopolis.
laughing so hard I could only say like Jose, so mine was like the most chill of them all. And when I went
Cornopolis.
through, there were 10 people in front of me who had already said names. And then the coach found out what we were doing. And they're like, come on, guys. Like, we
Come
need to
on.
stop now.
And we're like, no, this was fun. But it was for that first like 15-minute chunk afterwards, it was pretty funny to hear Ebenezer, Tut, Tutton, Tutankhamun, that's me. Like, just they'd walk up, and you can see the coaches sitting in the corner, just. "Ah, why do we even bring them anywhere?"
The- It's this was such a common thing for us. Like it's
It was.
we were never like I was very much the mild one. I mean, I was more like the I don't even know if I officially made captain because we were so bad at doing that. I remember voting for captain one year and never finding out who was the captains. But
We were really
I
bad at
was
keeping up with all of that.
I was more of the like mature type, but still I'm just like look at the coach. It's like, hey, you gotta let us do it. Like this is how we
Like,
do it.
this is how memories are made, coach. Come on, what are you doing? Let the
Um,
kids have fun. Well, okay, maybe except for that time that we made well, we didn't make the coach do it, but our assistant coach, we stopped at Taco Bell,
okay.
and this was when they first came out with the Diablo sauces, because everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, it's a sauce hotter than fire sauce! Oh, this is crazy!" And we were all sitting at the table, and what didn't I get down on like my last burrito or my last taco
I
before
don't
you?
I don't remember exactly, but all I remember is and I think this is when we were doing the improvs too. So Ian and I were a lot closer. And I just
Looking for
randomly
content.
go, Ian, get four of the hottest and put it on your taco or burrito, whatever you had. And that's all I said. And Ian's like,
It was
all right, bet.
bet, and it was just like, granted, four Diablo sauces is not maybe a lot, but I know nowadays it'd be enough to give me some nasty heartburn. So at the time, it was just stupid high school shenanigans, and I got the four Diablo sauces. I put them on there, and I eat the thing, and I'm like, oh, it's delectable. It's wonderful. And then we look over and we see our assistant coach sitting at the table a little ways away. And he looks like he's having the worst day of his life. I mean, he's sitting there like napkin in hand, like you see a little vein popping on his forehead, just
If you've ever watched Hot Ones and they get to the middle, that's what he was like.
like
But
he was. We go over
but
to the table and we want to see, like, okay, what's wrong? Like, the man's looking like he's been fighting for his life on the toilet for the last 10 minutes. Like, I need some kind of context on what's happening here. And we go over there, like, what's going on, coach? You all right? He's like, man, this mild sauce is really getting me. We were all like, we were looking at him like, oh, come on, coach. Ian over there, he just put like four Diablos on his burrito or whatever. And that coach was like, God bless you. You're more of a man than I'll ever be. Oh my God. And he would just like, he went through probably like 3 or 4 cups of pop. Like, he was just
you
suffering.
guys may think that Ian is fibbing, but just
He
literally
would
it
be
was
red
like it
and
was
like
either mild or
pouring sweat.
medium. I believe it was mild. It just doesn't seem like that would be the case. He had one mild packet and he was red.
He was suffering. He was really suffering. Well, I
But
think he said that he was trying the medium. I think he said that he usually gets the mild, but he wanted to try the medium, and he tried the medium, and it was just,
it was either mild or medium. Any like regardless.
it wasn't much. You get it.
But that's not where that time ends. Uh cuz right after Ian's like, "Okay, I'm going to go to the bathroom before we get on the bus." And we're like, "Okay." And Ian comes straight to me, and he's like, "Is it bad if your piss burns?" And no, it's
I
like
don't remember asking that at all.
you didn't even say hi. You just came up to me and just asked me that question. Like,
Hey, Joe, I need to talk to you about some medical advice. Listen, it burns. Is that normal? Just, oh
and
God, we were both trying to just get stupid stories for our videos at the time, and I don't know what I was thinking. I probably wasn't thinking, if we're being completely honest.
oh, and there was one last thing. After Ian did that, he checked the little sauce packets, and you know how they say stuff on them. We looked at them after, and one said, "Never refuse a dare."
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that one. It was, never refuse a dare. Oh, it was meant to be.
we
Oh
now
gosh.
now I gotta tell this story, and you can tell it from your perspective.
Oh
Um,
no.
it wasn't a great day for Ian this day. Um,
We're not
we don't have
just
to
go.
tell this story if you don't want to.
Just no,
Okay.
no, no, no. Just go.
Okay. Okay. So we're playing at the Metrodome. If you don't know, it was the Twins, Minnesota Twins Stadium before Target Field. Since it was so snowy, the coaches set up. It's like, hey, we're gonna play a preseason tournament at the Metrodome. Super cool experience. The thing that wasn't super cool,
I
and
still have those pictures on my iPod, by the way, and I have not uploaded them.
I don't think I got any pictures. Um, anyways,
It-
Ian's like, hey, I'm gonna go use the bathroom. I think you asked me to watch your stuff, and I had it next to me, and Ian had so many snacks just packed up. As soon as he left, like 6 guys came over and just like, I'm not gonna fight off 6 of my teammates. They just grabbed Ian's stuff, started rifling through it, and by the time Ian got back, they had finished probably almost all of his snacks.
My God, it was like the ultimate betrayal. So for starters, I'd like to say that um, given that we knew we were going to the Metrodome, I knew, or I should say, my mom knew that food was going to be expensive down there. Trying to buy anything, and also, I got hungry all the time because I ate so much. And so she made me this little like backpack, and it just had like some simple summer sausage sandwiches in there, like a little bag of candy, nothing like too insane, just like a few snacks, some chips, whatever, um, to tide me over until we actually stopped and had a proper meal. And yeah, like Joe says, I was like, hey, can you just keep an eye on my backpack? I'm gonna go up and go to the bathroom because the Metrodome was like empty. There's nobody in here.
Yeah,
So we're
it was
sitting
just the two
way up
teams.
next to the field. And it's like a 10-minute hike up those stupid little stairs back up to the bathroom. So I'm like, hey Joe, you just keep an eye on my stuff. I'll be back in like 1-8 probably if I don't get lost on the way there. And I come back. And I come back. And I did you even say anything to me as I came down? Or did I like go up to
You
you?
were.
I don't
I don't think if. I think if I said anything, it wouldn't have helped anyway. Um,
well I
I,
know I was not aware that my backpack had been rifled through. I know that
I,
much.
I, I, I want to say I don't know how you didn't know because I think as you were coming down, they were chowing down on all the chips you had. I did feel bad because you asked me to watch it, but as soon as someone saw like, "Hey, Ian's gone. Give me his bag," and just immediately reach for it,
Yeah,
I'm
that
like,
was there was no way you were winning that fight. Well, because see, well, the thing is like I came back right, and my backpack was in the same spot. The sneaky little
I'm
shit had made
guessing
sure to
I'm guessing
put it back.
Herbert put it back last
Herbert,
second.
yeah, probably Herbert, because he knew what he
He
was doing.
did everything.
And I saw that like people were snacking, but I just figured, genius! They brought their own snacks too. That's good thinking. I brought my own snacks. I'm gonna save my snacks right now. I want to save them. I want to wait because I want to, savor them. So I'm pretty sure I sat down next to you and I didn't even like look at my backpack for like the next 15, 20 minutes. And then eventually I'm like, all right, I think I waited long enough. I think I could go from one of them little sandwiches. There's some chips right now. So I reach over, I grab my backpack, and I open it up, and I look inside, and I go, "What the hell?" There was food, there was stuff. This bag was full of food when I went up to the bathroom, and I pulled it out, and all that was left was this little Ziploc bag that had like a couple hundred grands and a few Snickers. And I'm going, where the hell is all of my food? And that's when I start looking up and I look around and I notice everybody looking back up at me, like just halfway to taking a bite out of a Twix, like, and I, you sons of bitches, you ate all of my food. And I look over and there is Bruce holding the tub of it was Lay's Stacks sour cream and onion, which was my favorite kind of chip at the time. I had one of them tall containers of it. And I go over and I'm like, give me that. And I grab it like right as he pulled out the last stack of chips and ate it. And I was like, you didn't even save me. My favorite kind of chips. And I just went to go chuck the bottle at him. And I don't know if it slipped. I hit him. I let go early. I don't know what, but I know that bottle went whee and landed out onto the field that the two college teams were practicing on.
It was the varsity
And
teams. It was still our teams. But yeah,
what?
still. Yeah, it was just JV varsity.
I thought it was we were watching NDSU versus UND.
No, we were playing.
Well, yeah, we were playing, but like they were also playing. I definitely remember watching them.
That's weird because they weren't there.
That's
Maybe they were playing right away and we had to wait. I don't know. Anyways,
something like that. But yeah, and then I turned around and someone was like, "Hey man, you want your string cheese back?" And I went to grab that, and then that went flying out on the field.
I
So then
won't.
after that whole debacle, I got the nickname Chips because I threw the chips canister out on the field. And then Joe, you want to tell them what they did to make it up to me?
I don't remember, but I do remember how we were set up. Ian and I were sitting behind them, and there's 5 or 6 of them, and they're all just laughing this entire time as well. They felt no remorse. I want to say that. No, I don't. Like, I don't remember you hitting the chips can at all. I don't remember your reaction too much or anything that happened after. So please
Well,
enlighten me, because I don't remember.
I remember what happened after because then after everybody ate all of my hors d'oeuvres, then everyone realized, hey, wait a minute, we're still hungry. Oh, wait a minute, this is a Metrodome. We can order Domino's, and we can like go up there and go because I think there was like a Domino's somewhere around the whatever, the vendors or whatever. And so they ordered a Domino's pizza, and they only ordered one. The selfish bastards. They ordered one large, and then I got one piece of pepperoni pizza, and that was my my apology gift was one piece of pizza. I'm like, you sons of bitches owe me my own pizza, but that didn't happen. So
Uh,
you
um,
live and you learn.
I guess I got one more, and I don't believe you were at this game. It's the one I talked about with you just in passing. And then we got one that's not related to baseball, but Herbert's is in it, and it's good enough to tell here. It's not baseball
Honorary
related,
mention.
but it's still it's a good story.
It's
Um,
stupid kids related.
it's high school kids messing with each other. Sort of. Anyway, so these next 2 stories involve Herbert as a whole, and we were at an away game. Um, the guy who was pitching was known to have a really bad temper, but I was at first, Herbert was at second, and then the guys who were at third and short I had known all my life, and Ian and I went to school with them all our life, so I know them well. So the 4 of us are just being obnoxious and just like chatting like we're not playing baseball, just saying stupid stuff, and the
Just having
pitcher was
fun, you
loving
know?
it. And our pitcher ended up hitting one of the batters in the head, and then Herbert goes headshot, like in
Headshot.
old Call of Duty, and I can't help but just laugh. And I think like the opposing team's like families were laughing as well at that comment. Um, but also
I
during
can
that
just hear
game,
him now. Headshot.
Herbert got hit in the butt by a pitch, and then he made it all the way around home, and he's like rubbing his butt, and he's like, "Oh, it hurts so bad." Sits down, and then someone who they had talked into playing his first year had metal cleats on and just steps on his toe as he's walking by, and he's Herbert gets upset and he's like screaming at him. I won't say everything he said because it was a lot of swearing, but
Some of it YouTube won't like.
he's like, "What? Why did you do that?" And it's like, my butt hurts. Now my foot hurts. And he's like just swearing up a storm. The one thing I
Losing
really
his mind in
remember,
the dugout.
the one thing I really remember, which is a little swearing, like, the dude who stepped on him was like trying to apologize, like, dude, I'm sorry. And then Herbert's like, suck my ass. And
My
he
ass. And
and
everyone stops in the stands and like looks over like, what's going on over
all,
there?
all of us are laughing really hard because it's Herbert's and he's the class clown of the whole group, and seeing him
This
upset is hilarious.
this is
But
not new activity.
but it got to the point where the umpire was yelling at our dugout and said, someone needs to calm him down, were his words. And then all of us start yelling at him. It's like, shut up, shut up. You're gonna get kicked out. Like, shut up. He's like, oh, did they hear me? Oh, and then he just goes from 100 to 0 real quick, and then he just raises up his hand. Sorry, my bad. And then like swears silently,
And then
swears at the other guy a little more.
God, I miss when he would do that. He would just like, oh wait, can they hear me? Sorry, my bad. And then he would just be done. And he'd be like, and then he would just he'd be quiet about it. Oh my God. Oh,
And then the bonus story involves Ian and I, and
we were
it's
fugitives on the run.
Ian was, and
And
I'll start.
Herbert.
So
Start us off.
yeah, I'll start us off, and then if you want to, once we get to that certain part that you know I'm gonna say, I'll take over. I'll say Herbert's side that we heard later, but for context,
Yeah.
I decided to have an NHL 15 tournament. Yes, it was 2015 at this time.
We were all excited.
So I invited some buddies over, and half of them just left. Thanks, guys. But it was Ian and I, Herbert, my buddy Saki, one of my sisters, and then my girlfriend at the time. That's all that was left. Ian was in the winner's bracket. He got all the way to the end. I fought through the loser's bracket to play Ian. And
I have no idea. I just like to put out there that I don't play hockey games
No,
at all.
none of the guys I invited played really.
I have no clue how I ended up in the winner's bracket at all. This was just one of those flukes that happened to work.
So Ian was very confident. Like, he's kind of like chirping at me a little bit to start the game, and then we start, and then I end up. It was a pretty close game, but I ended up winning.
Kick my
But
ass.
Ian, back in high school, when he started losing, he wasn't the
became-
most friendly person to play with after. I'm
Put it mildly.
Yeah, I'm putting it mildly. So
Very.
what I
very-
remember is you like getting scrunched up, just super angry, and and like the second game I just steamroll him. I think it was like 7-1. I just steamrolled him the second game. And good old Herbert, who was still watching, did not help matters. Like we said, he's a class clown. The antagonizer. He's just yelling at him and saying how much he sucks at the game, as Herbert lost like after his second or third game.
My God.
I don't know if you remember this part, so I'll just say it. It kind of led to the whole rest of whatever.
Everything.
At my parents' house, there's a door in the living room that leads outside. That's also for context. And Herbert grabbed one of my sister's yearbooks and started pointing at the women he thought were more undesirable. I'm not going to say exactly what he said, but like, and like, no offense to anyone out there. I'm just relaying what was said. And he's like pointing at Ian like, oh, she's probably your girlfriend, and she is, and whatever. And all I remember is him saying something along the lines like whispering to me, watch this. And he And Ian's in the recliner, just like arms crossed, super upset that he lost. And then
Fun with
Herbert
everything.
Herbert takes the yearbook and just chucks it at Ian and then runs out the door. And then Ian followed.
I did not recall him throwing the yearbook at me at
That's
all.
what
No,
set you off.
I
That's why
believe
you
that.
ran
I
out. That's why you ran outside. Um,
100% believe that.
Ian can go into his side. The four of us, so me, Saki, my sister, and my ex, were all in the living room while this stuff was going on. So, Ian, you tell your story, and then I'll say what Herbert told us after.
Oh, I gotta go dig down deep here in memory lane for this.
Otherwise, I can say more, and whenever you remember something, you
Well,
can.
I remember that I had sprinted out the door after him, and we began running around town. Um, Joe's parents live in a rather small
Very small
community.
town.
It's
I'm related to
it's
half
what
the town.
it's what some people might call a village. It's about
It's probably smaller than
two,
a village.
300 people. That right? Pretty small. There was like one main street. There was a bar, a gas station,
Post
a
office,
church,
hardware store, church, that's all you need.
post office, hardware store, and a playground. And those were like the public buildings in town. Everything else was a house.
And
And
80% of them are on one street.
yes, most of them are on the one street that loops through before going back down to the highway. And so I follow Herbert out the door. And Herbert begins just like first it started off as like a fun game of chase, ducking and dodging and diving behind trees around the playground, go down to the road, come back, zoom by the bar, up the street, just dinging around town like, oh, this is fun, this is goofy. And I don't remember how exactly we came into contact with said vehicle, but I believe we hit the point where we were so far out of town that Herbert was just taking turns and running through somebody's backyard,
I will explain his point of view in a second.
running through his backyard to get back to these side streets, right? Because I mean, you know the area enough, you know people's backyards aren't fenced in there, and you're just running along this side street. Oh, if I duck behind this tree, hang a left, and go that way for 50 feet, I'll be on the other side street. And so we started zipping between houses. And then pretty soon, we heard an engine running. That's okay, that's not much of a big deal. There's engines running around town all the time. But as we're coming up to this road corner approach or whatever, we see the headlights flick on and start coming at us. And we, not wanting to get caught, running around being stupid, just like, okay, post up behind this bush, hide behind this tree, wait here. And the truck drives by real slow. And we can see a spotlight on the other side of
I,
the truck.
you might be getting a little far ahead. There's
We
some
might have.
reasons why there was a spotlight. There's reasons why. And
Oh, there
that's
was.
you need Herbert's side to understand.
All right,
So
bring in Herbert's side.
so from his perspective that he told me, it sounds like he lost you at least a
They
couple times.
They probably did at some point. He was probably took a turn or two, and I lost him. And then like he would go booking it off towards like the little not the baseball
There,
field,
there's
the
a
parking.
there's a little area where they have like a backstop so you can play kickball or whatever in a big open area. He said that he lost you at some point and he was hiding behind that backstop because it was black and he wanted you
Dead.
to run into it, but he didn't see you, so he took off, whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what it was. Because I think he came back and he found me and was like, "Hey, we gotta go." And I was like, "What do you mean we gotta go?"
what I know you guys got split up because when we all came outside to see like where you guys were, like you sat down up against the tree and like you were taking your inhaler, like you looked rough. But as that was
Yes, I
going
had an
on,
inhaler as a kid.
as
I
that
got
was
worn
going
out of breath.
on, good old Herbert took shelter in someone's backyard. Luckily, it was my cousin's. And her now ex-husband, because he's a piece of shit, won't get into that, must have noticed something going on in the back. Saw some rustling, so started checking it out, and Herbert books it. And he goes back to my parents, and he hides in a car. And apparently,
I don't
the
know.
dude found him and was trying to get it open, but Herbert locked the doors to keep himself safe. And he ended up booking it out of the car. And then I think that's when we all like saw him, and then you started chasing after him again. And that must have been when he's like, dude, we're in
We
trouble.
gotta go. That must have been, yeah, because I was fuzzy. I don't, because I was going
it
to
was
say,
a long
I don't
time
remember
ago.
the details of how we got the truck after us. And
So-
now that you say that, it seems more likely that Herbert probably got the truck after him, came booking it around the corner, and I was like, oh, here we go, it's back on. And I started running after him, and he's like, no, dude, you don't understand. Because I think I followed him for a ways, and he
Well-
didn't stop. Like, he didn't say anything until he finally stopped to catch his breath. And I was like, ha, I got you, buddy. And he was like, no, dude, there's someone out here. What do you mean?
So when they took off, then the four of us out stayed around because we just stayed around there and just were having fun. And the dude comes up and he's like, "Do you see some kids running around?" And we're like, "Yeah, that's our buddies." And I think I can't remember what he said. It was supposed to be big and menacing, but it really didn't sound that way.
Didn't come
But
across that way at all.
he said like they need to stay out of people's yards or whatever. He didn't say that. He said something more. Like I said, supposed to be menacing, sounded really stupid. But then he walks back home, and then like we went back inside and just waited for you, and then that's when we saw the vehicle, like a truck, just a big spotlight shining it through people's yards.
Yeah, shining it like past everything. Like at this point, we were pretty much over the whole sprinting around town thing, right? Like, we
Also,
were all
Herbert was barefoot this entire time. It was spring, so it was like 45, 50 degrees at night. Ian, I'm sure you were just wearing socks.
probably just socks, or like I think I threw on like my shoes really quick or something. I don't know,
And
something dumb
This went on for about a half hour.
on for a
Then-
stupid amount of time.
I don't know if anything else happened with you guys before, but I remember Herbert came back around and he was pointing like open the front door, so he came inside and then we locked the doors and left you outside for a little bit. And then
Yeah,
we
believe
let you
that.
back inside.
Oh,
And
well, I
then-
remember we were trying to make our way back because this truck, like we could see it in the distance, like we could see the light shining around, and we're like, oh my God, are they looking for us? Herbert is like, screw that, whatever. I'm gonna get back to the house. I just leaves me, and then that's why he got back to the house first and got in, and I was like, guys, open the door. Do not leave me out here. And yeah. And that's when I made it inside.
And then right after, I remember one of my like second cousins then, because family, was on a four-wheeler with a spotlight, and we're all just in the living room, like hiding behind the couch, just watching them go by.
There's like several pairs of eyes peeking from behind, like, where are they going? Are they looking for us? What are we gonna do if they come and knocking on the door? Like,
And then
Oh
like
my
my
God.
sister and I were like, don't worry about them. Like, you're in here, we're good. We're just not gonna do that anymore.
we're just
Uh,
not gonna say anything, and we're not gonna do anything. We're gonna nothing.
I think shortly after, Herbert's like, okay, yeah, I think it's about time to go home.
It's probably either about time to go home or about time to go to bed or something, I'm sure.
But that was a fun night.
That was
I just sat around and watched, waited, and heard both of your perspectives afterward, and that was hilarious.
It was something else entirely. We were sprinting around that town. I tell you what, it's a weird experience growing up in a small town. You don't quite realize how different your life is until you go to a bigger city or meet people who grew up in a bigger city and they're like, "Oh yeah, me and all my friends, we used to go down to the mall and hang out here and do this, and then we go to the movies." And it was like, we we used to ride our bikes across the highway and the railroad tracks so we could go down and see the swamp across the road. And then
And
sometimes we go back up and we just walk around town, the whole town. You
and
just walk
then
circles.
when
Need
we
something to
were
do.
10 years old, we stayed out till like 9, 10 o'clock and played flashlight tag throughout the whole town without being
That was
supervised.
Oh gosh, that was the fun stuff back in the day. You'd be sitting there and you just see a flashlight sweep and you'd be like, "Oh God, I hope he didn't see me." Completely disregarding everybody's house, whoever was
Oh yeah,
there. You just, I
all
know you
how
guys are out there.
all houses are in limits. Neighbors
Oh,
have to deal with it.
and you're part of the game whether you want it to be or not.
But like I said, luckily I was related to half the town, so it's like, oh, it's that group of people. It's that
They're
group of
not gonna hurt
kids.
nobody. They're
Uh,
not gonna hurt nobody over there, except maybe themselves with like a skinned knee or something.
um, I think
Uh,
I think
that's
that
honestly
means time for
it's quote
quotes.
time. It's quote time. It's time.
Uh,
Everybody
I'm
likes quote time.
going with a inspirational quote tonight. It is never too late to be what you might have been.
Hmm. It's never too late to be what you might have been. Simple but effective, like
I
a lot
feel
of these quotes are, because we only pick good quotes here. This is the good quote generating source.
also
All of our quotes are fantastic.
George Eliot is who said that, by the way.
I
No
don't know
idea,
who that is.
but I respect them because I needed that
Well,
quote.
I've got a good one here by I don't know how to pronounce that. Jean Cocteau.
Jean,
That's quite interesting. Jean Cocteau. Jean Cocteau, but I'm assuming it's pronounced Jean. Mirrors should think longer before they reflect.
that's a solid one. Solid as a
Haha,
mirror.
what a knee slap. Solid as a mirror. So it shatters the moment it encounters any resistance.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fair. Oh,
But I think that's the
that,
episode. Um,
that's everything.
yeah, Ian and I were just kind of talking about this last week, and it's like, hey, might as well make a video. We got enough funny stories. We do have some basketball ones that we'll go over sometime soon as well. Those ones are not. I want to say they're not as good, but there's more strong emotions with a lot of those stories.
There was
To put it
some
lightly.
interesting events during basketball.
Yeah, same group of guys as well.
Oh yeah, same group. So yeah, equally as dumb.
Yep. But thank you guys for BSing with us today. Follow and subscribe down below to become a bud today, and we will see you next time when we successfully run away from any spotlight that's going through town.
Or we, run full speed into a backstop and hurt ourselves because that could have happened too.
That too.
But until next time, just take her easy.